gentlemen, reciting the Holy Quran, recited by Rizky Al-Fazai, you might take the floor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the report from Chief Executive of Public Lecture of Mathematics Department, delivered by Professor Dr. Ahmad Fauzian, Master of Education. You might take the floor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I don't know how to say. What to say? Yeah, on behalf of the committee, first of all, I want to thank the dean of the Faculty of Mathematics and Science, and also the chair of Department of Mathematics. Because of them, that today that we have a general lecture with Dr. Kuliah. And then I also want to thank actually the chairman of this occasion is Ma'am Farah actually, but today she also become moderator. So I request her to say to report about this general lecture. Ya, terima kasih untuk semua pihak yang sudah berpartisipasi, Bu Vera, Bu Ayu, Bu Bike, Bu Sinta, dan juga semua tim ini ya yang sudah mempersiapkan diri sebenarnya. Tapi because of the weather, today hanya sebagian kecil dari our student that come to this general lecture. Actually, that I already knew Kuliah for a few years now. Last year dia juga datang ke sini memberikan lecture kepada mahasiswa PPG. Actually, that's what I said to her. She has a mathematician undergraduate degree, but maybe she already forgot about mathematics ya. Jadi sekarang dia bicara tentang climate change. Nah, mungkin bagi yang hadir hari ini, ya, ini apa ya kuliahnya kok tentang climate change gitu. But ya, I think everybody here sudah kena dampak dari climate change ya. Kalau ditanya kita semua ini, termasuk orang tua kita di kampung, ya, seasonnya, musimnya sudah nggak karuan begitu ya, sehingga mereka juga tidak. Nah, jadi climate change not only the responsible for the environment people ya, apa namanya orang-orang yang bergerak di lingkungan kita semua bertanggung jawab tentang climate change. Nah sekarang mahasiswa matematika yang akan jadi guru matematika, we have to know also how to integrate climate change into our lessons. Jadi bagaimana mengintegrasikan ya climate change, mudah-mudahan nanti Kuliah bisa memberikan wawasan kepada kita how to integrate climate change to mathematics education. Jadi sekali lagi saya mewakili panitia ya mengucapkan terima kasih banyak untuk kehadirannya, mungkin juga pengorbanannya menempuh banjir tadi menuju ke sini. Mudah-mudahan general lecture ini bermanfaat untuk kita semua, memberi inspirasi untuk kita, dan juga atas nama panitia saya mohon maaf atas segala sesuatu yang tidak berkenan dalam pelaksanaan ini ya. Mungkin apa Bu Vera ya, pertama mungkin karena persiapan kondisi ini yang tidak bisa diapa, jadi mohon dimaafkan sekali lagi, semoga ini bermanfaat. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of blessing of this event, let's pray together. This will be led by Egy Syahputra. Time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Marilah sejenak kita bersama-sama menundukkan kepala, senyaga munajat kepada Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, agar keinginan kita hari ini diberkahi dan bisa berjalan dengan lancar. Bagi yang beragama Islam akan saya pimpin, bagi yang non-Muslim silakan menyesuaikan. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan yuwafiqu ni'amahu wa yukafi'u mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa 'azimi sultanik. Allahumma shalli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Ya Allah, ya Rahman, pada hari ini di gedung Universitas Negeri Padang kami hendak melaksanakan perkuliahan umum. Dengan memohon ridho dan izin, berkahilah semua langkah dan perbuatan kami, dan jadikanlah itu semua sebagai nilai ibadah dan nilai ilmu yang bermanfaat bagi kami. Ya Allah, ya Wahid, Engkau yang Maha Satu dan Maha Mempersatukan, kami memohon perkuatlah persatuan di antara kami. Janganlah Engkau biarkan ada perpecahan di antara kami. Kami ingin kuat dalam persatuan agar bisa lebih bermanfaat untuk agama, negara, dan bangsa. Ya Allah, ya Ghafur, Engkau yang Maha Pengampun atas segala dosa. Ampunilah dosa kami, dosa orang tua kami, dosa para pemimpin kami, dan dosa para pendahulu kami. Tempatkanlah kami dan mereka semua dalam lindungan rahmat dan ampunan-Mu. Ya Allah, ya Mujib, Engkau yang Maha mengabulkan doa. Perkenankanlah doa dan permohonan kami. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa zurriyyatina qurrata a'yunin waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina azabannar. Subhanaka rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun ala mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Understanding climate change cannot rely on abstract concepts alone. It must be supported by concrete experiences, meaningful narratives, and interdisciplinary insights. Ladies and gentlemen, let us now explore how this approach helps learners grasp complex climate issues in a more relatable way and impactful way. This will be delivered by a renowned expert, along with a discussion session. This session will be moderated by Dr. Rada Fitrani Duina MED. Please have the floor.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Dr. Kuliah Makroni. I'm Fitra Nina, will be your moderator for this lecture this afternoon. Before we invite Dr. Kuliah Makroni, I want to read about the Helsinki for the Helsinki. Okay, this is the personal detail from Dr. Kuliah Makroni, the surname Makroni, and the first name Kuliah, the date of birth 22nd of September 1978, and also she got the income degree for 2017 till 2022, Doctor of Philosophy in Faculty of Education from Finland, and some research that simpler than post-age education. And today she will come and divide the narrative and interdisciplinary approach to climate change education. Okay. Without further ado, let's come invite them for Dr. Kuliah Makroni to deliver this lecture. Please welcome Dr. Kuliah Makroni.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, hello everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm happy to be here. Actually, I visited UNP last year also and proposals. But I haven't been in the Faculty of Mathematics, so I'm glad to be here and to be with you students from Mathematics Education and Mathematics Faculty. First of all, I wanted to also thank UNP University and also special thanks to Proposal for providing this opportunity to be here again and to collaborate with you. So I'm Kuliah Makroni, as introduced me. So I came from Finland, Tampere University. I also recently worked in the Vascular University. So Tampere and University is two cities also in Finland. And I mostly do research and also a bit teaching at university. I worked on different topics. I graduated from my PhD 3 years ago, and I have done some research about migration, diversity and integration in education, but besides that I also worked on curriculum studies and pedagogical approach, as well as one of them is climate change education and curriculum development for climate change education, which we did one project, also with collaboration with UP, and also we conduct one online course on the topic, which later on also introduce to you. If you are interested, you can also contribute in that online course. Is it right? Yeah. So the
Understand what Dr. Kuliah saying?
hopefully you get most of the topic. This language always is an issue, but hopefully we can manage it. If you don't understand, then we can. So the topic that I'm going to learn is about two approaches, actually pedagogical approach, narrative approach, and interdisciplinary for teaching climate change. and it can hopefully useful for you as you want to be future teachers or working at school or any other organization. So next. Okay, so just to start with the topic, as you know, I'm sure that you have heard about climate change and you are already maybe experienced this kind of changes. I arrived yesterday and I have observed this heavy rain and I have heard about the flood and so on. So I think to somehow you also experience the impact of climate change, maybe when you compare the weather with the last years or few years ago. But about the phenomenon of climate change, which is not exactly also clear, what is the resource, but we know that the climate always changing, so the problem is not changing, the problem is the speed. After industrialization, so it seems that the speed of planet getting warmer, it's too high. So in this case, in Paris Agreement 2000, agenda for 2030, they put a kind of obligatory for nations, for all nations, that they have to have a strong ambition and also take strong actions to combat climate change, to decrease these greenhouse gases emission. Otherwise, we will have the higher degree like 2.6, 3.1, and it can be really problematic for not human, for non-human, but not for the whole planet. So we have to understand actually this climate system, how it works, and how is the relation and connection between climate and human society and also biodiversity. So it's very a big issue that all of them are related to each other.
Masih paham? Too fast.
Maybe next slide. Okay, so related to climate change education, in UNESCO in 2021, they conduct research and survey. They studied the curriculum of 100 countries, and they found out that 47% of that countries, they didn't mention anything about climate change, even though that the topic is very important. And only 53% mentioned something in anyhow about climate change. And mostly this topic has been mentioned in a science subject, not in other subject. So the implementation also of this curriculum locally, it seems it's far to reach. In this, if you can see in the diagram, the Central Asia and Southern Asia, it's only 4% they mention in their curriculum about climate change. However, it is about 2021. So there will be some changes, but of course not big changes. So you can see that how it's needed actually to integrate climate change into curriculum in different subjects, not only science subject. Is it okay or?
Is it okay or not okay?
The UNESCO report also did research survey for the teachers. So they asked teachers, they made interview with teachers, and they found out only 40% of teachers are confident with teaching climate change.
And from that 40%, only 1/3 of them can explain climate change according to the local condition. So, the local implementation of climate change education often leaves much to be desired. So it means that the local implementation of climate change education is weak, and still we need more study, more research on how to teach climate change education according to the local conditions and local situation. So to somehow this like ethno-mathematics, ethno-science, this is kind of needed for future research and also developing. And then we also, as I said, conducted project about climate change education with University of Education in Bandung, and also Suprabansa School in Aceh. We interviewed teachers and also we made like survey from 296 teachers. We found out actually the capacity building for teachers is needed. So teachers need more knowledge about climate change, but also more skills and competences, as well as also their attitudes, because some teachers may not believe in climate change or have a different view. And the other research also shows that the reason why teachers don't know so much or confidence about climate change is because there is not such a strong education and materials when they are studying at university for their teacher education program. And also there is a lack of resource that is about that. Also, it's about yes, it's about also this connection with these local conditions. So there are not such much link or examples related to climate change and their local situation and local conditions. So this is also low awareness about the topic. So in this case, it is why teachers are not very comfortable or confident with teaching climate change. The results of our research also shows that teachers have some challenge with students' behavior. So they said that even though, for example, we are aware about the human action like throwing the trash to the environment and waste, still we are telling our students to do that, and they are doing it at school. But when they leave the school, their behavior is not consistent. So they forgot about that, or they don't care about that. So their worriness was about this consistency in the behavior of the students to be they have a pro-environmental behavior. But still they have challenge with that. And also they said that there is a lack of systematic program at schools to support this kind of programs, maybe better program and also more collaboration between teachers, principals and with community can enhance this also raising awareness about the climate change and taking action. And also the results shows that actually there is a lack of using the local knowledge and local wisdom as a strong point to motivating students and also teachers, and also make the meaning. So it means that if there is local wisdom, local knowledge that ancestors or local community used it, actually were eco-friendly, but haven't been used in textbooks or in curriculum or in teaching. So it seems that these local narratives and stories and the actions that the local community use it can be used in education, in teaching climate change, and integrated into different subjects in a way that make the students more interested and also create a meaning for them, so they understand well what is the phenomena and how actually taking care of environment and responsibility is a value. So this is why climate change is not only knowledge, but it's about raising values, how we see ourselves in relationship with nature, with other creation, and how we feel responsibility. In this case, these local stories and knowledge and narratives can help and bring that kind of values.
Masih paham kan?
Okay, so to going through that this green change in education, actually we need to enhance the knowledge. We have to enhance the skills and also attitudes and values to equip all learners in different levels in a way to become active citizen and responsible to actually mitigate and adapt to climate change and in general like to be an active citizen for taking action. So for that, this requires that we consider this interdisciplinary and inclusion conceptualizations and pedagogical approach to like integrate of knowledge, which means head like metaphor, and also caring about environment that involve our heart, and also our actions, which is the skills that we are learning with our hands. So it needs both knowledge, skills, and also attitudes to go through this phenomenon and to teach about that and to get to know it. So only getting knowledge is necessary, but it's not enough. We have to know how to do what we have to do. And also we have to feel it like as a part of ourselves, our identity, to be responsible. Yes. So, as I said, making meaning is very important. And how we can, as a teacher, provide this, like to make this meaning for students. First of all, for ourselves and for students. So for that, we have to remind ourselves that education is not only about transferring knowledge. Like I know something as a teacher and I give it to students. But it's about how the learners experience the learning, how they position themselves in this learning journey. So who am I and who I will become is a important issue in education. It is why most of the climate change, maybe agenda, program, just live for a short term, not longer term. And it's because of lack of this involving individual and making meaning. So how we can do that? Like how we can create this meaning? It's, of course, we have to learn about the climate change as a global phenomenon, what's happening all around the world. But we need to do and to take action locally, so it creates meaning for us. So what is climate change actually in the goal globally, but now, for example, in Padang, in Indonesia, there is such kind of problem, what I can do or what we can do as a community. Or how I teach climate change according to what the students experiences already, so they get better understanding about the phenomenon. In this case, like listening to the voice of different people and their experiences, it means that involving them in that phenomena. So the people and the learners like internalize that topic in themselves, and they can better feel it, and also like to make themselves knowledgeable, and also learning the skills, but in a way that it could be sustainable, and they can do something also from heart. So it stays for a long term, not only short term. In this case, it's important that the people can connect with how climate change actually affect their life. For example, here there is flood, the water is going to the home of the people. Their experiences is totally different with people in Finland, that maybe they just feel the climate change as a little bit having warmer winter. So in this case, how we teach and use that kind of examples and bring that kind of experiences into our classroom. Doesn't matter if we are teaching history, mathematics or physics, our creativity should use that kind of examples in a way that climate change will not stay only as a phrase. Climate change. But climate change means affecting our lifestyles, study. For example, because of the flood, like your friends couldn't come. So climate change impact on the study, impact on the work, and so on. So in this case, it's very important that localize this kind of knowledge. Please. So, what do we need to do in education? So we need to consider this integrating in curriculum, and in a way that curriculum will be relevant to what people experience, local conditions, and be responsive. And also considering these pedagogical methods and approaches that can be more effective for teaching and talking about the climate change. Because climate change is a complex issue, so we need to understand the multi-dimensionality of that, and then we use it in a way that students and learners slowly can learn more about that, and become aware and also active in taking action. I took this picture last year when we visited one school in village. So maybe if you want to talk about climate change to this old man, maybe not very responsive to actually climate change, but he may refer to the changing weather. However, if we ask them what you can do, maybe he responds in a way that his experiences, or maybe even he doesn't recognize that what he's doing maybe is kind of climate change mitigation, for example. Here he is using bicycle. Maybe for different reasons he is using bicycle. Maybe because he doesn't have money to buy a car, or he is living in a village. But using the bicycle is also one kind of actions that people can use as environmentally friendly behavior, for example. So, for example, if you want to talk about mitigation to climate change, or how to people change lifestyle, one of them is okay, using more bicycle instead of using motor or car. of course, it needs many infrastructures and so on, but at least we have to be aware and as much as possible use it in our lifestyle and start with ourselves and our community. So, developing curriculum for climate change education, first of all, we should aware about that education is going beyond acquiring knowledge. It's about also building the identity and how people see themselves in the learning process. And also it's about like how curriculum can stay dynamic and subjective. It means that teachers should find their active role in the curriculum, what they are experiences as a teacher, what students experiences, it should find its way also in curriculum. So it means that curriculum is dynamic and considering the local condition, the teachers and students experiences, and based on that, like the curriculum can develop. So it doesn't mean that curriculum comes from top and you follow it without any link. In this case, the first part that we have to know as a teacher, we have to know that we should have an active role in developing curriculum, in giving feedback, and to somehow like finding our voice in a way that how what we have experienced in our classrooms also can find location into the curriculum. So in this case, curriculum will be as a kind of lived and dynamic, not something that stay separate. So this kind of changing in environment and changing on the teaching style and everything should be reported and should be considered in developing of curriculum. And it cannot be done without negotiation, communication, and so on. But the first step is awareness of teachers. So teachers should not see that, okay, I'm separate from curriculum. They have to raise these voices and be aware that they need to connect and to influence on curriculum. Yeah?
Masih bisa mengikuti? Masih?
Maybe sleeping?
Please.
Okay, so about this pedagogical approach, so I am introducing these two pedagogy. One is narrative, one is interdisciplinary based approach that can be used for making meaning and more like meaning for the learners about teaching about the climate change. So narrative, have you heard about narrative? Yes, narrative sometimes exchangeably used like with story, but it's not same. It may be less, but narrative is a way that you talk about story. So something, for example, happened, and your friend comes to you and talk about that. So actually what your friend is telling you is narrating, is narrative. And your friends try to talk about that story in her or his own way. Like how he or she understood and how she or he can interpret, making meaning, giving them structure and tell it to you. So it's narrative. And actually narratives has been used in a variety of ways, but unfortunately it is not get used in education theorizing so much. But it has a high impact on human learning. Because in the past, maybe I've heard the grandfathers or grandmothers tell the stories and wanted to teach younger generation some techniques, some values. They always use these stories, and so it actually they transfer the knowledge, but also transferring emotion, values to the new generation, or some local wisdom, local knowledge that hasn't been written in any book. It has been transferred to the stories. And also poem, for example, literature, even music, songs, all it's kind of narrative. So narrative has a role in enhancing learning and also transferring the knowledge and values also. Also, narratives are persuasive. What is persuasive? It's like that motivate students. When you are telling something, not only from the theoretical point, but you make it as a narrative, so the learners understand it better. So in a case, narratives simplify also complex phenomena, complex issues. For example, climate change is a complex topic. So with this narrative approach, you can actually simplify and explain it through narratives. One of these form, like this teacher, like the storybooks of the children's or storybooks. So storybooks actually wanted to teach something to the children, but in a form of story. Why? Because they want to make them motivate, they want to explain some behavioral or some concepts in a way that children understand it better. So also for transferring the value. So in these children, for example, books is kind of also narrative, but it's not limited to the children book or story. When you are teaching something about behavior in social science, something about mathematics, physics, you can form it as a frame, or frame it as a kind of story, as a kind of narrative. So it makes the motivated of the learners, and their curiosity and critical thinking will increase because they are interested about that and they want to solve that problem. And that problem has been mentioned as a frame of narrative instead of only facts or statistic. There is fact, there is statistic, but in frame of narrative. For example, for mathematics, you can say that like Mariam and Sarah are friends, and like some things happen for Mariam and they want to go buy some things, so they pay this amount of money, and then how much now, for example, in calculation. So in a frame of narrative, you make a project or make an issue and they try to solve it. For example, these two paragraphs, I don't know if you can read it or you can
Bisa
see
dibaca
that.
dari situ? Bisa dibesarkan, Mafi? Yes. Can you read it?
So the first one is about some statistics, some numbers about raising sea level. Yeah? Talking about raising sea level with numbers. So it's kind of a statistic point or mathematical points. And then the second one is about this raising sea also, but in a frame of story. So, for example, the second one is a story of one person. They said that I grew up by the beach where my family has lived for many years. We spent our summer swimming and building sandcastle, but over time I have noticed that the ocean is getting closer to our house. Last winter during a storm, I stood on my porch one person and also the community and enhance empathy actually in our we read it. But for the first part, maybe we just get knowledge. But for the second paragraph, it's more than knowledge. So it is why the narrative approach can be more influential and make us and our learners more integrate into this topic and more feeling of responsibility and understanding about depth of phenomena.
Besarkan lagi nama.
For example, like in mathematics, you can integrate it in your examples or assignments that you're giving to your students in different ways, and use kind of examples that is familiar with your students. So, for example, a farming community has experienced irregular rainfall over the past 15 years. Some years are extremely dry, others have heavy rain. Farmers want to understand the pattern to plant crops. So, for example, the task is to create a bar chart for annual rainfall. So, it's about how to make the bar chart, but with this relation with the environmental issue. Calculate the median rainfall and compare with mean. Or identify years with anomalies, like extreme high or extreme lows. Model prediction for rainfall, like in the next day. So it's about also mathematical skills, but in a way that you linked it with the local example and also related to climate change. Is it clear now?
Masih bisa mengikuti? Is it okay?
So, as we talked about that, so about the climate change, we don't need only knowledge, we have to raise also this kind of empathy in a way that we feel more responsibility about what we are doing. So in this case, narrative can help in making some invisible voice visible by connecting the scientific facts to human stories, as for example, some examples that we had. So we have the facts, but we can connect it with the local examples related to environment and so on. So it fostering empathy, and when we have the empathy, we feel more responsibility, and we will raise more active citizens actually in future, not irresponsible and indifferent people. And also, creating hope is very important when we are teaching about climate change, because now, if we say that okay, we have flood and we have a lot of problems and what's our future in danger, so it makes stressful. But we have to find solution. We have to encourage young generation to be creative, critical, and have a hope actually. And again, this narrative approach can also foster the hope in climate change in a way that making also students and teachers in a way that link it with what they are experiencing in the local and what they can actually do in a way that can be locally implemented. Because if we talk about climate change with limited issues, I individually cannot do anything. But if we make it more locally and with local community, then each individual can still do something. So in this case, using some narratives about the local community also is important in building the hope by avoiding the stress and climate and anxiety. to teaching or to curriculum or our teaching in a way to be lived in our classroom. So there are many eco-friendly actions in local community that has not been mentioned in textbook or in curriculum, or even teachers don't pay attention to that at all. But this narrative and these stories about what they experienced, how they did in the past, actually very intellectually and very eco-friendly, slowly, if it doesn't be mentioned in the education, it will be forgotten. But actually, that kind of knowledge is very valuable to be mentioned, because it's not only knowledge, it's about the way people value the environment, and that has been forgotten. Because in the past, for example, I have read about this Subak, I think, Subak in Bali. For example, they did this in education system, first of all, based on equality. So equality is a value. And also in a way that other creatures also can live, like fish or something besides this like rice line. So in a way they find a way in a harmony with nature and with another also creature. And it's very eco-friendly. And climate, to say that it's climate mitigation also approach. This picture that I also chose, it's like have been used, they call it wind catcher. Wind catcher, they are used in very hot area. For example, if you search for some hot area like Yas in Iran, you can find this wind catcher. Actually, this is a very intellectual air conditioner, but they didn't use electricity. They only use the wind. So they try to design it and put this wind catcher in a way that they capture the cool wind. And then they direct the cool wind to inside, and this is what you also study in physics, the warm water comes up from another side. So it makes the whole atmosphere in the room or house cool without using any electricity. Yes. So it's a kind of natural air conditioner which is very eco-friendly, and nowadays actually they use that system, modernize it, and they use it even in Western countries and so on. So especially in STEAM, also education, I think this kind of knowledge is very useful, but has been forgotten because it's not mentioned by teachers or by curriculum and school. There is also stories behind that, how they use these wind catchers and how the architecture value their work and so on. So if we use such kind of local examples, local stories, it also enhances not only awareness but responsibility and value. The other question is that should we teach climate change as a specific subject or should be integrated in any subject? So as we discussed, this climate change is a complex and multidimensional topic, so we cannot teach it, and in anywhere they don't teach it as a separate subject, even in Finland or in another country. So still it's struggling also how to integrate in each subject, so it's something new. Yes. To go to this interdisciplinary approach, I wanted to have some example. Like one example to a little bit understand the complexity and multidimensional of the climate change. So in one city, actually it's Bali, close to my hometown, not my hometown, but close. There is a creature, they call it this goat, Marcas goat. And this goat actually has been there for 9,000 years, so very ancient creature there. And this goat has a special characters because the hair has a special feature. So the people made clothes, which they call it shawl, from the hair of this goat. And this kind of clothes in winter is warm, in summer is cool. So, and also they can get an easily the color to themselves. So most of the people, especially women, they use this job as a like waving shawls. But when this also climate change happens, then it happens on the rain, like there are lack of rain, so it impacts on the growing the grasses and like plants, and it impacts on the diet of the goats. So the number of goats nowadays is very low, and then it impacts also on the people's economy because people have the job because of waving the shawl. So they don't have such kind of jobs because the number of the goats are decreasing. And also people are moving to urban, to cities, so not more people in the village to take care about these goats. In this case you can see that even though that climate change impact of the rain, but rain impact on the planet, planet impact on the goat, goat planet on the economic of the situation of people, and then impact on the family situation, migration, and so on. So you can see that as a chain. These are all related to each other and very complex in a way that we say climate change is not only environmental, it's social, it's cultural, it's economical. In this case, interdisciplinary approach is useful in a way that can enhance problem solving skill, enhance our critical thinking because we can see the phenomena from different aspects. We can discuss the topic from different perspectives, so enhance the communication. And also it enhances the relationship between phenomena with local context and real life experiences. When we understand the topic from different perspectives, when it would be integrated in different way. For example, in mathematics, through these kind of examples that related to measuring, through physics, through social science, which is related to behavior of, for example, waste management, or some kind of behavior like taking care about environment and so on. In religion, which is related to how we have to also take care about not only another human but also planet. Yeah? So in different subjects can be used in different ways. For example, in geography, about weather patterns, science about the greenhouse gases, system, ecosystem and energy. History, learning how the past ancestors or local community use different eco-friendly way, or this local wisdoms. Through art also you can teach the climate change. For example, you can say the topic like you can imagine yourself as a climate activist, what you want to do for mitigation and adaptation. So choose this topic for your art, for example. Or you can organize exhibition, or you can use music, lyrics about climate change and song something about the climate change. So art can be used in many different ways. Also in literature, so the topic that can be related to climate change or environment. In physical, even education, for example, when you are doing some sport outside and so on, you can do it in the nature, you can tell them, okay, collect the trash. So it's kind of movement also for them. And in different ways, depends on creativity of the teachers. First, teachers should enhance their knowledge about climate change, and also they have to enhance this pedagogical approach and be creative. said that after all, the environment is part of our learning. So it's like the environment itself is kind of context for learning. Going to school is more about how to teach children about protecting the environment, so that later be sustainable. For me, mathematics is part of the environment. So it's consider mathematics is part of environment, because if I teach mathematics more contextually, it will be better interrelated with the current environmental issue. So we teach mathematics in a way that is more contextually, more related to. For example, today if there is school open, the teacher could have some examples or topics related to flood, because already people in maybe Padang experience that. And also another one said, I am a math teacher. Calculating volumes can be done from simple things. For example, by use the water bottles like this. Furthermore, the wasted bottles can be also used as teaching materials for numbers or linear equations. At the same time, it teaches children that we can use them again, and then not just through the way. So we can use it as a mathematical material. That's all I can say for the climate change, for example, according to his experiences. Or also some examples like for integrating climate change into mathematics. For example, in case of like basic math, like counting numbers of trees, for example. Instead of counting something mentioned in a textbook not related to environment, you can say that counting the trees, for example. Or go to yard and counting the trees or something like for the children. Number of trees in a schoolyard before after planting activities. Measurement comparing daily temperature and rainfall. Graphing, like make a graph, simple bar chart of monthly temperature, for example. Or in algebra also, for example, this linear function, you can make some example that related to environment. Modeling rising, for example, dioxide of carbon, or concentrations over time. System of equation comparing different countries' emission reduction, for example. Inequalities setting limit, for example, global warming must stay less than 1.5 instead of like we are teaching. So it's unconsciously you make the link with the climate with that example. Or geometry, for example, area calculations like deforestations, melting ice surface, and so on. Or statistics like data analyze temperature, anomalize extreme weather function, or also in probability, or احتمالات, we call it, likelihood of extreme rainfall events, and so on. When you are teaching this احتمال or probability. So it depends on also your creativity. Also you can organize some activities and some assignments. For example, graphing local temperature. Students collect 20-30 years of temperature data from a reliable source. You can mention like from where, for example, local meteorological service. And then plot a line graph, calculate mean temperature change per decade, disguise patterns and anomalies. Math skill is like graphing, slopes, average, and mean, interpreting trends. With that example, you also evaluate the mathematics. charts. So they use that example related to climate change. Yeah. So it depends on how you want to use. For example, here it's about the rate of like water and how much flood occur in Indonesia, but it's going to be like the student analyze and reflect of how flood occur in Indonesia through this mathematical calculation and bar chart. Yes. So all in all, it's very important that we equip teachers with knowledge, with skills and competence, and also with values and attitudes. And understanding the complexity of climate change needs to, first of all, simplify that to a scientific approach, and also considering the interdisciplinary approach in a way that we understand the direct impact of the climate change. In this case, these two approaches help to not only enhance our knowledge but also to make us link to real life situations and also to be more environmental friendly and taking care of the environment and be responsible and in general fostering and enhancing harmony with the nature. So we are not living against nature but harmony. And it is, education has a power, but of course it doesn't, the results comes tomorrow. It needs at least years and years. But it is important that we start, actually it's too late also, to equip teacher education programs and educational fields. So thank you very much, and sorry if my voice also is not very clear, I had flu, and hopefully you understand some because of the language, and hopefully you find it helpful. If there is any comments, questions, welcome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kuliah, that we are already listened about her explanation here. We have to enhance about the climate change of education. Jadi tadi Dr. Kuliah mengatakan kalau pembelajaran itu tidak bisa sendiri-sendiri saja. Contohnya beliau juga mengaitkan hari ini kita di banjir di Padang ya. Jadi diusahakan supaya setiap kita itu akhirnya bisa beradaptasi karena setiap tahun akan ada banjir gitu ya Dr. ya. Jadi tidak usah cemas ya seperti hari ini tadi kita mengharapkan banyak mahasiswa yang hadir tadi karena pagi-pagi sudah ada informasi bisa kuliahnya online dari rumah, tapi ini kelas saya harus ada di sini karena I will be here for you and Dr. Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Now we can come to question and answer. Can I? Okay. If you have a question, you can raise your hand and ask the question to Dr. Kuliah. Oke, yang mau bertanya silakan.
Thank you for the chance. I have a question. As a teacher in Indonesia, we know that the curriculum is come from
Top down.
top down. So how do we contribute in integrate the climate change
change and to the curriculum if it's from the top, not from the okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your important questions. So it is a little bit different, of course, country to country, system to system. For example, in Finland, teachers have this autonomy, and actually through the systematic meeting and reflection, they have influence in curriculum. So their feedback, their viewpoint will be influenced, like through some kind of reflections into the curriculum. But I understand if you say that, okay, curriculum is something separate, and then I, as a teacher, cannot influence in the curriculum. First of all, it starts like awareness. You teacher, you have to like how can I say that? Understand that you have a role in raising your voice. So it comes from doing some things through the community or union, and start to raising this issue that actually teachers needs to be involved in curriculum development. So slowly by slowly, may it also change something. But of course, it's not in one day. On the other side, I think there is room for teacher to implement different teaching methodology. And also, for example, if you are designing exam or designing activity or project for your students, you can think a little bit critique how to use some examples that can be related to climate issues, environmental issues, and also how to relate it to real life experiences of your student. So I think this is something that each teacher can do still through these pedagogical approaches and creativity, even though you maybe don't have such kind of rights in textbook. But in teaching method you can do that, and as I said, also try to raise like some union, some community through the Faculty of Education, and to also raise this issue maybe by studying your master's thesis later on, doing research on how to you can also combine this issue in textbooks, and slowly making some influence also on educational materials and curriculum. But I don't have any answer right now for you. It's just something that it needs process and it needs collaboration between teachers, principals, teacher union, faculty of education. Yeah, it's a difficult process, but it's possible.
Okay, thank you for the answer. I guess maybe if we can influence to the curriculum, we can start small, isn't it correct? So we as a teacher can integrate the problem of the question maybe with the something related to climate change or the reality. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you, terima kasih. Terima kasih banyak. Selamat sore, selamat datang, selamat malam.
Ya, sudah kita dengar dari Dr. Kuliah ya, jadi kalau untuk merubah kurikulum karena datangnya di atas ke bawah, setidaknya kita berusaha untuk merubah dari dalam kelas sendiri. Karena tadi beliau sudah mengatakan pembelajaran itu ya mulai dari diri sendiri, karena tidak hanya knowledge saja ya, tidak hanya pengetahuan, termasuk juga sikap, kemudian bagaimana Anda handle untuk bisa menjadi seorang guru yang baik, begitu ya. Jadi jangan cemas, kata beliau, susah iya, tapi itu possible, bisa pelan-pelan ya, slow by slow, is it correct? Yeah, we trust that we can do it by start by myself, by ourselves, yeah. Okay. Next please. is your question today? Okay. Is there any question? I hope that you can come to your questions and okay, from? Okay. Yeah, Mutia.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, ma'am. Hello, my name is Kuliah. I'm very happy that you are here at Mathematics Universitas Negeri Padang. I'm sorry, my English is not very good. I would like to ask a question. How do you measure whether integrating climate change into math lesson works? Do you look at student math understanding, their behavior toward the informant or both? If possible, I ask the moderator to help me as about bagaimana cara mengukur apakah integrasi isu perubahan iklim kepelajaran matematika itu berhasil. Apakah melihat dari pemahaman siswa, perilaku mereka terhadap lingkungan, atau keduanya? Thank you.
I think I don't have answer for, for that, like to measure it. But you can, for example, as a mathematics teacher, you of course start on the mathematics skill because you want to enhance the knowledge and mathematical skills. But it is about like how you mention the issues to be solved, or like how to express that that topic that you want to teach and help in a way that can integrate also some environmental issue. For example, instead of like measuring skills and telling you like some simple calculation, so you can relate it to some environmental impacts that already your students are familiar or experiencing that. So actually you are not measuring climate change, you are measuring the mathematics skills, but the help of that examples that is related to climate or environment. Am I understood your question?
Sebentar. Boleh bantu terjemahnya?
Tadi Dr. Kuliah mengatakan climate change itu kita tidak bisa ukur seperti matematika. Tapi kalau kita sudah lihat mereka bisa berubah dari sesuatu yang mereka belum biasa, kemudian pelan-pelan menjadi terbiasa, guru juga diminta untuk bisa memformat atau membuat pembelajaran bisa mengaitkan dengan keseharian mereka. Seperti tadi Dr. Kuliah memberikan contoh kepada kita tentang banjir. Jadi setelah ini diharapkan kita itu tidak takut lagi dengan banjir. Jadi diharapkan ruangan ini full students ya, not average banjir.
Example, if you learn it as a kind of narrative that you interpreted for yourself, then it will be sustainable. I have example, my father was mathematics teacher, and he loves actually mathematics, and if he is now 84, if you ask and he is explaining without any books, for example, any topics, and because he understood it, I think he made a narrative for himself, like how this equation, how this mathematics and logic are related. And it is why also it stayed forever. But I personally, for example, there are many things I'm forgetting. So in this case, it makes it like how do you make that kind of, in a way, relations or narratives for yourself that can be also sustainable. It's about narrative approach, I'm talking about that. So if it is related to even to more life experiences and relevant local context, it will be more sustainable. Wanted to mention.
Oke, Mutia. Jadi
tadi kan ini saya sebenarnya sudah terkontaminasi juga oleh Bu Lali sejak tahun lalu, sehingga kami juga mengajukan riset grant kemarin ya, tapi ini belum selesai. Artinya kami kemarin dengan Pak Deski, ada dosen dari IPA juga merancang satu kegiatan, cita-citanya mau mengadakan elective course untuk climate change ya di universitas ya. Artinya nanti ada mata kuliah pilihan tentang climate change. Nah, ketika itulah mungkin pertanyaan Mutia itu juga muncul ya. Artinya gimana ya kita nanti menilai ya atau mengukur keberhasilan ini. Nah, saya setuju dengan Bu Lali, tentu tidak kita langsung kepada nilai matematikanya gitu ya. Tapi kalau untuk ke matematika tentu kita ingin melihat apakah konteksnya itu memudahkan siswa untuk belajar sehingga dia understand the concept. Tapi yang secara umum dia yang paling penting itu adalah sebenarnya tadi kata Mempera tadi juga tidak salah tadi. Jadi ada attitude-nya dulu. Ya, pertama pengetahuannya dulu. Oh, bagus tentang climate change. Terus attitude-nya bagaimana? Misalnya tadi mengenai sampah saja, sampah plastik dan sebagainya. Kalau dia tahu misalnya sampah plastik itu tidak akan hancur beratus-ratus tahun, dia tidak akan membuang sampah plastik itu di sembarang karena akan merusak struktur tanah. Nah, tapi yang paling penting tentu yang ketiganya adalah dia sudah mulai, tadi kan empati dulu, itu sikapnya baru. Itu diukur dengan apa? Dengan misalnya kuesioner. Mungkin setelah belajar matematika dengan climate change, apakah dia misalnya menjadi lebih sadar tentang apa ya. Jadi mungkin saya tambahkan juga sedikit, saya juga sudah membaca contoh dari Jerman, itu dosen matematik bekerja sama dengan dosen sains. Dia bicara tentang kandungan karbon yang ada di satu pohonnya. Nah, jadi kalau satu pohon itu ditebang, apa akibatnya? Kita ukur secara matematiknya. Nah, karbon dalam pohon itu tergantung tinggi pohon, besar pohon, itu digunakan alat teknologi untuk mengukur tinggi pohon dan sebagainya. Dan sehingga kita tahu nanti kalau karbon itu satu pohon ditebang, itu dampaknya kepada polusi udara bagaimana. Itu secara matematik. Nah, jadi yang terakhir tadi ada pengetahuan, yang kedua sikapnya ya, misalnya seperti yang ketiga adalah keterampilan untuk action. Nah, action itu bisa kita lihat dari observasi tentunya. Artinya kalau misalnya sampah plastik tadi, kalau masih tidak membuang sampah plastik, berarti dia sikapnya saja yang bagus tapi actionnya tidak. Jadi kalau Mutia ingin juga ada pengukuran perlu nilai, itu semuanya dimungkinkan tentunya ya. Tapi saya tidak setuju, tidak itu tujuan utamanya gitu ya, integrasi tadi ya. Tapi adalah menimbulkan kesadarannya, kemudian dia beraction gitu, melalui matematika. Terima kasih untuk serta dengan
belajar matematika untuk coba. Soalnya belajar rasa.
Sudah Mutia, jadi tidak harus selalu diukur matematikanya ya. Kalau ada perubahan itu pelan-pelan diharapkan mereka bisa paham ya. Oke, masih ada yang mau bertanya? Lalu yang ada nilai Jovita sama Mutia, nah yang lain enggak ya? Rahmat, do you have a question, Rahmat? Ya. Raka, should I call you real name one by one? Elsa, do you have any questions? What did you say now? Do you all understand about the Dr. Kuliah already explained it to you? Dr. Kuliah said that that's okay if you don't have any questions. So, ya, jadi diharapkan nanti di kelas pun ada pelan-pelan mencoba ya, merubah climate change-nya, tidak hanya seperti yang kita latihkan di kelas ya, tidak hanya hasil, not that the result, but how about the process ya, to understand about konsep. Jadi artinya di dalam belajar tidak sendiri-sendiri dia bisa. Dia ada penilaian, so you have to make the enhance with other subject. Jadi bisa dikaitkan matematika dengan sosial seperti di matematika aritmatika sosial, jual beli ya itu kan sosial itu, how to sell that object, how to get the price.
And of course, it is not only something task for teachers, because, well, if you don't have time, how you can think about that and how you can develop material. So it's about also considering time for teachers to do something related to that. It means also need some administrations and collaborations. But this lecture is about your awareness, a little bit about the topic, and also finding your role as a teacher, how it is important in raising this issue. And also, not in your teaching, but in your school community, and also, why not, you can raise also your voice in the upper level for developing the curriculum, find yourself in history of education. So it's about that how you position yourself, how you see yourself. But see yourself as an important actor in education. It's important.
Ya, jadi dan pluralisme dan kita tidak bisa selesaikan sendiri. Ya, jadi banyak kaitannya, ada administrasi, ada menteri pendidikan juga, kepala sekolah, begitu ya. Jadi minimal dari diri kita dulu. Jadi kita pelan-pelan. Tadi beliau juga mengatakan bikinlah komunitas yang sesuai dengan apa yang kita lakukan, gitu ya. Diharapkan nanti in the future you will be a good teacher. Yeah. Okay. I think this is enough for today. Say thank you for that for the topic. Make them some people have no question because they already understand about your explanation. Hopefully. Okay, thank you very much. And also for the audience, I want to say apologize for any mistakes. Ikut sesi bersama. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Si Fernanda dari mana Bu Ayu? Yang pergi dia. Fernanda, can we take a picture for all people before? Yang wanna give to moderator.
Baiklah hadirin sekalian, acara selanjutnya adalah penyerahan sertifikat kepada narasumber yang akan diserahkan oleh Memvera dan sesi dokumentasi kepada Memvera kami persilahkan.
Live. Halo. Wih, baru nonton. 3 orang nonton. Ada udah nonton dong.
Makan kita.
Tes. Izin Ibu dan rekan-rekan semuanya untuk mengarahkan sesi dokumentasi kali ini. Oke. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Gimana? Oke, jempol. 1, 2, 3. Matematika. Satu, dua, tiga.
Oh, jam ya. Oh iya. Kamera. It's a
Udah kan? Udah ya?